Falling in love with a knight in shining armor riding on a white stallion is the dream of every girl. I would want him to be tall, blonde-haired, green-eyed, handsome, and strong. Imagine him along with me if you can. But what I never expected in a million years was to actually meet my knight in shining armor. Lend me your ear and listen to my knight's tale. My name is Meredith, and I am 17 years old. I live with my mom and my little sister Susan, who is 3 years younger than me. Susan and I fight a lot, as sisters are wont to do. She is more beautiful than me. I am short and fat, but don't blame me. You should blame my mother for being an excellent cook. She used to work in a famous restaurant. You can't imagine how tasty her food is. Mom uses me as her laboratory rat or guinea pig. Whenever she cooks any new dish, she has me try it out and give her my opinion. As a result of all my taste testing, I've become an obese food addict. I know that my obesity may be an obstacle in finding my heroic knight. My best friends are Ellen, Selena, and Mary. My first date was with a guy named Mark. He was a crazy one. Torn clothes, long, dirty hair, a furtive manner. And his paranoid eyes were always darting around, looking everywhere. At our first meeting, he gave me a silly present that, when open, sprang a fake frying pan into my face. My next meeting was with Michael. He was subdued and weird. On our first date, he sat silent for 2 hours and barely spoke at all. All my friends' matchmaking attempts failed miserably. Then Ellen suggested that I open a Facebook account and try to find my dream mate online. I didn't like the idea at first, but I took a chance, opened an account, and shared some personal information about myself and my interests. My first friend request was from Mark. Yeah, that Mark. I blocked his request immediately. I received more friend requests from various people, some interesting, some plain and boring. I kept waiting for my knight on a white horse to send me a friend request. Then one day, I got a friend request from a boy named Joaquin. I visited his Facebook page and saw that he was handsome and active in sports. I accepted his request and sent him a message to say hello and waited all night for his response. Just when I was about to lose hope, he surprised me and responded. I tried to control myself even though my mind was already racing ahead and planning our wedding. We chatted online that day for around 3 hours. I told him about my family, hobbies, etc. But eventually he had to excuse himself to go to an exercise class. However, he promised that he would continue our chat later. I sent him a rolling on the floor laughing emoji and asked, "Are you serious?" He replied, "Of course, I want to get to know you better." I called my friends and told them everything. They advised caution, but I didn't listen to them. In my mind, I had already fallen in love with Joaquin. I clutched my phone, waiting for his next message with bated breath. I figured that I should probably let him know what I really looked like, a fat food addict, before we got too far into a relationship. When he got home, he sent me a message, and I asked him about himself and his family. He told me about his dreams, his family, and his dream girl. He told me that he wasn't interested in a girl's figure at all. The important thing was her character. We agreed to meet the next day. I was excited. I called my friends immediately and updated them on my news. Later, I received a message from Joaquin stating the time and place of our upcoming meeting. I chose some chic clothes and got ready to go. Mom saw me and was surprised that I had dressed up so. Susan laughed at me. "She looks like she's going to a restaurant," said my darling little sister. I announced, "I am going on a date, Mum. I met someone on Facebook." Mum said, "Okay, have a good time, and come back and tell us all about it when you return." My heart was beating in my ears as I raced to our meeting place. After I arrived, I sent Joaquin a message telling him that I was waiting for him outside. He replied that he had prepared a surprise for me and that I should come inside. So I hurried inside to see what surprise he had planned. My mind ran wild with possibilities. When I entered the place, I saw my friends holding up a banner with my name on it. Ellen said, "Don't be upset, Meredith, but your surprise is that we are Joaquin." They had played a prank on me as a birthday surprise. Oh, I was so angry. "Do you mean to tell me that Joaquin, the love of my life, was all a hoax? You are not my friends. You are devils." But then Ellen opened a box and showed me its contents. a nice, big, plump, glazed blueberry tart. I stopped my angry ranting. My mouth closed. I became silent and calmed down. My heartbeat rate slowed. They all hugged me. They said that I was a beautiful girl and they had just wanted to make me happy for my birthday. I was stuffing the blueberry tart in my mouth when the waiter came to take our orders. I looked at him with a mouthful of food. He was so handsome. I mumbled, "What's your name?" as I was chewing my mouthful of blueberry tart. Try again, as they say.
My name is Laura, and as a child, I craved unconditional love. But instead of cuddles and family outings, my lasting memories are of bitter rows. My mom never wanted children, she says. She told me that the only reason she didn't get an abortion was that she found about the pregnancy too late. My dad left when I was very young, which made my mother resentful. She had to stay and be the responsible mom, which she hated. On one occasion, my grandparents took me away, and I remember thinking, this is what family should be like. The relationship dissolved completely when I was a teenager. My mom's first love was always men, and when I was 15, she moved to Africa for a boyfriend without telling me. It's something I found impossible to forgive, especially as there has never been an explanation or even an apology. She has contacted me since, but always asking for money. That's why I made the decision to cut all ties with her. I put my mother's behavior down to a horrible upbringing, but she can't make the same excuses for her father. Dad had a lovely childhood, but he has no emotions or empathy for anyone. We haven't spoken in 7 years. Although she's so close to his parents and they encouraged her and her dad to repair the damaged relationship, it brought her nothing but more hurt. After he left my mom, he went on to have a new family. That was really hard for me to handle when he's made so little effort with me. My issues with my mom and dad have badly affected my mental health all throughout my life. I see a therapist regularly now to try to help me deal with the emotions. When I get married next year, neither of my parents will be invited. I grew up thinking I did something wrong for my parents not to want me. My only regret is not telling my dad how much I hated him. I don't hate my mom. I just feel sorry for her and I wish she could see what she's done. Ending all contact with a parent may sound extreme, but for me, it was an act of self-preservation. My dad left when I was 8, and I haven't spoken to my mom once since I moved to Germany 10 years ago. She wasn't maternal and had a really bad temper, which she took out on me. She would never be affectionate, and I felt unloved. I believe my mother may have had a miserable childhood, which meant she lacked the emotional tools to be a good parent. After I grew up and had my own daughter, our relationship got even worse. My mother never came to see me or her granddaughter, but she did form a close bond with her son's new family. It hurt me that she made an effort to spend time with my brother's children and not mine. Over time, I have come to terms with the fact that she never loved me. I don't hate her or feel sorry for her. I just don't want her in my life anymore. Andy hasn't spoken to mom for 25 years, after they stopped communicating in his early 20s. For him, the problem was a lack of respect and common values. I grew up in a children should be seen and not heard household, where my parents' opinion was the only right one. We would have dinner in silence, and my parents never encouraged me in my interests or activities. He says he was never praised for his achievements, only criticized for doing wrong things. Whatever I did, it was never good enough. If I did well at something, my dad would always have to prove he was better. The house rules were strict, and he was sent to bed by 10 p.m. every night, even at the age of 16. But instead of sleeping, Andy found himself listening to the radio to escape the boredom. He quickly became interested in current affairs and politics, which gave him a new insight into the world. It made me realize that my parents' views were snobby, sexist, and racist. I was never allowed to voice any opinion that contradicted their views or I'd be sent to my room. It made me lose respect for them. Andy and I were living in the same house, but we hadn't had a conversation for over a year. I can't say I regretted not making up with him. He was miserable to be around. Several years later, Andy graduated from university and bought a house. I was so proud, but my mom told me it was horrible. She said it looked like a council house and asked why he wanted to live in a slum. As his career advanced, she became more critical and constantly compared him with his half brother. I was 21 and felt successful, but she was ashamed of everything I did because it didn't fit her snobbish ideals. Eventually, he stopped contacting both my mother and his brother, and has never looked back. It wasn't really a difficult decision to make because we had nothing in common and they didn't accept me or my life choices. Andy understands why some people see this as a surprising decision, but has no interest in sustaining a relationship for the sake of it. I feel like seeing your parents out of duty is wrong. If you have made no effort to build a relationship with your children, I don't think you can expect them to be there. For other families, the rift is a result of the parents' divorce. Like my friend Helen, she lost contact with two of her four adult children this year after ending an emotionally abusive relationship with their father. Since they separated in 2011, it's been a slow process of parental alienation. Her son hasn't spoken to her since last year, and her middle daughter is now ghosting her on every channel of communication. She believes her former partner has used the same manipulation tactics on her children as those that destroyed their marriage. Once the kids got older and she developed her own life and interests, her ex became controlling and tried to stop her from doing the things that she liked. During a period of gaslighting that spanned many years, she says he told lies about her behavior to friends and family. Once he told them she was drunk and suicidal and she had gone missing. In reality, she had gone to the supermarket. When she joined a local band, he told everyone she was crazy and that she wanted to run away and become famous. Over time, her husband's side of the story was believed, and Helen began feeling alienated from her family. She sadly lost her mom a few years ago, and her dad is a man's man and took her ex's side. The divorce impacted the children big time and damaged them emotionally. Despite making every effort to build bridges with her children, she admits she doesn't know what their father has told them. He has always made an argument before parties and celebrations to prevent her from coming to the event. He also accused her of having an affair, even though she never cheated on him. The relationships with her two estranged children became so strained that she wasn't given a chance to discuss what had happened. The only explanation they've ever given her is that she doesn't care about them or that she treats them as little kids. Though losing contact has been an extremely painful experience for both of us, I don't blame anyone. Not me, not my mom, not Helen, and not her children. It's no one's fault. I can very much relate to how Helen's children felt. They're like goldfish swimming in a tank where someone keeps adding a tiny bit of color every day until they start to see things in a completely different way. I would love a chance to reconnect with my mom, but I can't see how it will happen. At the moment, I feel like I'm standing outside and they're inside a glass room. I really miss my mom, my brother, and definitely my dad.